load us up on a train. Easy, 150 people. We start asking in Polish where they taking us. So the people made like this. When I was 13 years old, I was all on my own. I used to trade for butter, for bread. They used to call me the Malach, the angel.
Many survivors of all kinds of traumas try to spend their life undoing.
I'll better make $1 my own. I don't want people bossing me around.
He needed this to undo what Hitler did to his family.
And I said, I leave, I quit. The same day, I started a business.
Sam has inner power. One day he was a victim, the next day he went out and he was a survivor.
I was born in a little town outside Białystok. I was the youngest in the family. And my father was also in the meat business. I used to go to the slaughterhouse with him. That's what I learned from watching and doing it. Whatever I know up till now, I did not learn from the street. I learned it from my father and from my brothers. And I lost them all. I had a brother, he was a singer. When he was singing in a theater, and there used to be chandeliers, the chandeliers was ringing, such a voice he had. I used to love pigeons. I had over 100 pigeons. I had a dog. When the Germans came, they shot the dog. When the Germans declared war in '39, and the bombs started coming in like 6 o'clock a.m., and the German border from us was 90 kilometers, like 60 miles, and they were by us in 4 days. The Germans arrived, they collected from the entire community, and they put them inside. And they closed the doors, the windows. Then they started breaking the top windows and throwing in fire bombs. Anybody stood in the window, they shot them down, they fell back inside. The synagogue was burning for 2.5 days, and the sky was red like a fire. I knew people were burning inside. Between 2,000 and 3,000 people, they lost their lives there. In '41, June the 22nd, on a Saturday night, they attacked Russia. 4 or 5 weeks later, they started making a ghetto. This was the end of it. People lost faith. When I was 13 years old, I was all on my own.
If you can do something on your own without anybody's help, that's where the power comes from. That's when you switch from a victim to a survivor.
It's all new buildings. Everything was chopped down. Right now, we near the gate was to enter the ghetto, gate number 1, right over here. It was very difficult to go in and out. I already lost my entire family, so I didn't care.
And he avoided capture from the Germans by wearing a Virgin Mary around his neck. He had red hair, and he didn't look like a typical Jew.
The Jewish people outside the ghetto didn't have any rights to walk on the sidewalk. They had to walk in the middle of the street. If you caught them walking on the sidewalk, you got 10 lashes. And I always walked on the sidewalk. I never looked backwards, always forward. If I saw a German standing, I walked straight towards the German without fear. This made me like I'm not guilty of anything. I used to go out, go to Kinishin to the farmers, they used to know me. I used to trade for butter, for bread.
That's when he started his entrepreneurial career.
My business was to get shirts, shoes in exchange for food and bringing in 3-4 times a day. They used to call me the Malach, the angel, because people were starving from hunger.
He supplied food for everybody, and he knew what hunger was. And I think he thought that he was never, ever gonna let anybody go hungry.
And when you see the person never smiled, all of a sudden, his stomach is a little full, and the smile comes out, you smile with them.
He eventually started bringing in weapons and gunpowder and grenades. There were spies that were in his town ratting people out. He went out and he purposely got caught. He was brought into a house. They chained him to a wall and started beating him up. And he saw the 2 spies that were there. And he risked his life to go and do that for the greater good of the Jewish people.
In 1942, they brought to a camp, an army camp in Białystok, over 35,000 Jewish people. I was in this camp for 19 days. From this camp, they used to load them on freight cars and take them to Treblinka, to the death camp. And they put 4 people in a line, and 1 man fell. So the Germans grabbed me, another guy, and we should pick him up and carry. I couldn't carry him, so the Germans hit me with a boat. So I remained lying. So he walked away, and he shot the man. We are in a deep forest, a place which taken out the people out of the ghetto. Was no room on the trains, and they give them a order, get rid of them. All women, 5,500 of the Białystok ghetto. So they brought them in to this forest they call Pietrasza, because the echo from screaming when people dying, the Germans, Ukrainians, and Lithuanians, they were afraid for uprising. So they take him deeper so nobody can hear. And after they buried, they throw him in. The rest, they were shooting in the back of their heads, and they buried them too, so no evidence could be proven. This is the spot, and this is the 5,500, the last. They loaded us up on a train, easy, 150 people, like sardines. And when we came to a station, the train slowed it down. I climbed out from the window with one hand, the second hand I reached to the latch. I opened the latch and the people pushed the door, so I jumped. And they were shooting a bullet, went just to show it, made me a hole. But I ran and I had shooting and a lot of people died. I asked my brother to jump with me. I begged him, and he did not move. He was with his girlfriend, and I never heard of them. A farmer came to pick her up, the feed from the fields, and he punched me with a fork. I was inside sleeping. The guy asked me, "What are you doing here?" So I said, I jumped from the train from the opposite direction. So he said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "I'm looking for work." They didn't know I was Jewish with the Virgin Mary on my neck. Then they said, "What do you know how to do?" I said, "I know everything." We walked in a field and I showed it to the son. I knew better than he did on this farm. And they liked me like a brother or a son. better cannot be treated the way they treated me. I made 90% the farm grow better than it was before. As a kid, I was working on a farm. They had a son. He was involved with the partisans, and I was with them every night, 7 nights a week. I learned guns, pistols. I learned even how to put together a Molotov cocktail. And this is the forest, the big. We used to escape right into the forest. And over there, with the big rock, was opposite a hole, prepared in case they come to the front. We escaped to the forest. When the bombs from the Russians was pushing the Germans, I didn't say nothing. I just took off. When I came to the United States, the same day I got off on the ship, I find a job, and they asked for butchers. I raised my hand, and I had the job for 6.5 years.
But he was possibly the finest butcher that New York had seen. He had a reputation of being fast, clean.
Out of anybody, when he worked at high grade, he would be on piecemeal, and he would make the most money than anybody else because he was the fastest.
Story of him working for the high grade manufacturing nations, Frankfurters. He wanted more of the old world flavoring in there, and then they formulated that, and that became the Nation Frankfurter.
They hired a man to become a foreman. So I lent him $20. So I said, can I get my 20? I gotta go over to the bank. I gotta make a deposit. Just like this, I said to him. So he says to me, it's too bad Hitler didn't come and kill the rest of you over here. I said, what did you say? So I grabbed a knife and I ran towards him outside in 4 cops, mounted cops from the horses, jumped off, and they stopped me. He ran into Frank's restaurant across the street. I said to the cops, I'll kill him. So the cops cooled me off, and I went upstairs, and I said to a guy, Henry Hausner, a Jewish guy, I said, Henry, please, can I get my check? I want my check. I leave. I quit. The day I quit, the same day I started a business. I'll better make $1 my own instead to go for somebody to make them 5. I don't want people to keep bossing me around.
Being a Holocaust survivor, money comes and goes. When you lose 1 minute of your time, you'll never get it back. And starting a business after you've been through the Holocaust is nothing. What do you have to fear?
The very next day, I was knocking on the doors to a few customers. I rented a truck. Monday, I was in business.
My father didn't speak English very well when he first came to the United States. He had to compete with American companies, with American salespeople selling American beef. So my father only had one thing, his understanding of quality product. So if he couldn't speak to them, he let the meat speak for itself.
We at Peter Luger are looking for the top of the USDA prime. He was the only principal that stayed every time I came to buy and watched every single piece that was shown to me. He was that specific for all of his product.
When I promise to a customer I'll deliver, I deliver.
My father was always working, so my mother raised us basically in the house. My brother and I were out in the street playing, and we would hear a whistle. That was my father's calling to us. He's home, time to come home for dinner.
He worked all these hours, but still had time to be the president of the Bialystok Center. He had time to take us up to the Catskills. He made time for all of us. My father was a tough guy. He didn't let anybody mess with him.
He didn't like it. A guy said something about him being Jewish, and father got up, no conversation, knocked him right out. I'm a kid seeing, this guy knocked out on the floor, I can't wait to tell mommy, right? And he says, don't tell your mother.
Some people from the mob come to approach me. They wanted a piece of the business. I refused it. Over the weekend, they burned my door down. A week later, 2 men shows up with a suitcase with money. And there was a machete laying on a block, and I grabbed the machete, so they ran away.
I mean, that always scared the living daylights out of us. So, we never wanted to have that, mom tell dad that we were bad.
I was a little kid, and I was in public school, and this one big kid picked on me, and he punched me a couple of times, and I ran home crying. Then my father gets into the car, and I thought my father was gonna get these guys. The guy that hit me lied to my father. He said that I started it, and my father came over and slapped me in my face, and he said, "You lied." A few years ago, I confronted my father. He apologized. I knew that he didn't want to hurt me. What made my father, I guess, strong, or made him who he was what he went through.
My father lost his whole family. So this family in America that he just started, that he built, he did everything for us so we can excel. When he looked at us, we were an extension of him, and he was always a target. And he made it his business when he came to the United States, that he wasn't gonna let that happen anymore.
Work was the most important thing, and a family, which is the truth. Look at the hours. My father would be here at 8:30 at night, 8 o'clock at night. They would call the house if the alarm went off. He'd be the one at 80 some odd years, 85, 86. He'd be in the car running to the plant, right? And then he would stay here. If the alarm rang off at 6 o'clock, he would sit in his chair and he would fall asleep in his chair.
I saw my father cut the tip of his middle finger off. Came back that night, and he was back to work. He didn't miss a day.
Modern management techniques were not really a part of his playbook, but everyone respected him. There was a certain way about him that you were motivated just to live up to his standard.
As a boss, Sam was, he was tough. He had his own visions, but as you go along with it, you'll see in the long run, it's for a reason.
Sam has his way of doing business. You go with an idea, with a price, with a number, and you come out with a different deal. So you always get caught into his deal. Very strong person, very strong character. He don't take no as an answer.
Monday morning, when I unload the trailers with Scott, so each piece is like 200, 250 pounds. We're the last ones to do it that way. For me, I unload that trailer and I do all this physical work because I know that in the back of my head, this is what he was doing. He came from nothing. He beat all odds to do it. And for that reason, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for him and his heroics. I decided, and I knew it, it wasn't really a debate, that I was going to go in and continue what he started and pass it down to my kids.
Always had in mind, my sons are going to be in the business with me, because without them, I don't think I would grow as fast. With them, with their help, we are growing together. They offered us $75 million for the place. The place is not for sale.
It wasn't his business. My father always looked at it as our business.
But if I wouldn't have the guts not to go in business, in winning business in the way I did make it, I want to share it.
It isn't the money. The money has no character and no personality. But when you look at his business, That's where he identifies with his success. He needed this to undo what Hitler did to his family.
You know, it was great to be with my dad. You know, couldn't. My father was a guy that was very generous to everybody. I wish he was here.
I thought my father was going to live to 120. I don't believe he died. I can't believe it. My father worked till he was 90, till his last days. I cannot believe I'm here talking to you and my father's not here. He was that much of a presence.
He was like a bulldog. When he sunk his teeth into something, he didn't let it go until it succeeded.
Very kind heart, hard worker. I never seen people working like him.
I learned from Sam to be honest, take care of your family.
He was a leader. He showed us how to always be in front of the line rather than to just acclimate to the back of the line.
It's like an example, you know, for anybody who like to work, he teach you how it is.
I believe that my father emerged as an entrepreneur is because he was going to show everybody what he could do. Screw the Nazis, that he survived, and he's going to make it no matter what. He came to this country with $10 in his pocket, and he wasn't going to let anybody stop him.
You know, when I joined the business, I sat 2 feet from him. I sat right in between my dad and my grandfather. My back was always to my dad.
I talk to my father every day. All the time. As if he's still there.
As you see Sam's stories, what you really should take away from it is look what he's accomplished. His fear turned into fearlessness, and his abuse became a triumph.
Where I lost my family, and if my family would be here, they would be very proud of me for becoming a success. They would be in heaven to see what I do. And maybe I'm here to make it up. I'm representing the 6 million.
במעלות קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות ששת המיליונים אחינו